This tutorial will cover the basics of geocoding in ArcGIS, including building address locators. Geocoding is one of those activities that you probably do on a regular basis, but you're not aware that you do it. Excuse me. Here you have Google Maps, for example. I type in an address, and a point comes up on the map. What's actually happening, as you can imagine, is underneath the surface on Google Maps, there's a whole wealth of data that Google has paid for and acquired over the years. City names, zip codes, state names, street-based data, parcel data, building data, all of which is being run simultaneously so it can give you the best match for 1932 South 13th Street. So essentially it's saying what is the XY coordinate that we would put for that address. And you can do the same thing in ArcGIS. Now, similar in Google where I could search, excuse me, I keep going to the wrong one here. Similar in Google where I could search a zip code or a state or a city or a point-based address, you can do the same thing in ArcGIS. Right, an address could be a zip code. You could get your address information from streets. Or you could even get your address information from parcels. So let's examine all three. It's zip codes. If I zoom back out, always good to start by looking at something's attribute table. Pretty cut and dry here, right? There's the zip code, 19127, 19128. That's what stores that information. So essentially, I'm taking a table that has a value 19127, 19128, and I'm matching it in the centroid of these. That's how I would do it for this. Streets, if I look at my Philadelphia roads, right, you can't necessarily see it from this point, but if I start selecting things, right, notice I'm selecting these roads, but not the whole road lights up, just a segment. And the reason for that, if your data is good, right, some street data is better than other, is I can see that this segment of street, right, is Queen Lane, West Queen Lane. The zip code on the left side of the street would be 19129. The zip code on the right would be 19129. And here's where you get this kind of magical four numbers. You have LF add, which means left from, L2, left to, right from, and right to. So essentially, this section of West Queen Lane on the left side of the street goes from 3400 to 3498, and on the right goes from 3401 to 3499. So essentially it's the 3400 block of West Queen Lane. So we'll come back to that when we start actually building the address locators. Finally, there's parcels. So if I open the parcel data, right, each parcel is essentially an administrative record, a record of deed, right? So sometimes parcels here are large; they may have multiple addresses. I'm sure you've gone downtown or to a shopping mall or a shopping center that has a lot of different stores in it, but maybe it's just one parcel, right? That's how the deed is recorded. Right? So if I selected a couple of these, it'll take a little bit longer because it's a larger file. So bear with me for a moment. And I open, I can see what information is stored about the parcels. Right, so I've got an ID, parcel number. Right, now we start to get some interesting stuff. A house number, right? So this is 3329. A direction, if there is one, an actual street. So this one parcel here that's going to pop up in yellow, that parcel's address is 3329 West Penn Street. This is 3331 West Penn Street. Right, so even just with these three right here, looking at zip codes, roads, and addresses, we've seen how we're kind of starting big, right? Like maybe all you have is a zip code, and you can locate in the middle of the zip code. Maybe all you have is road data, right? And you can use what you know about the road, that it starts at 3400 and ends at 3500, and guesstimate where a house would be along the line. Or you can get real specific, right? If you have the parcel-based data, you can actually match a point to a parcel based on its address. So the first lesson to geocoding is your geocodes are only going to be as good as the data that you have, which is why Oh, goodness, again, apologies. Which is why Google's is fantastic. They've paid millions of dollars to collect all of this information for every city throughout America, through cities that aren't in America, and that's why they can get you really accurate data. When we start building ourselves, right, building geolocators ourselves or geocoders ourselves, we're going to be constrained by not only the quality of the data, but the extent. Right? So you imagine if I wanted to geocode addresses that were in Philadelphia, I'd be good, right? Because I have Philadelphia roads and I have Philadelphia parcels. However, if I wanted to geocode something out here in Montgomery County or Delaware County or Bucks County, I wouldn't necessarily be able to because I don't have the data on my computer. I don't possess Bucks County roads and Montgomery County roads. I'd have to download it. So in this instance, the best I could do for those areas would be a zip code, the center of a zip code. So we've spoken about it in kind of contextual abstract terms. In the next tutorial, we're actually going to go through how you begin to build your address locators.